The emotional impact of a developmental delay diagnosis on parents and carers can be enormous. Hi everyone, good morning. It's Akwa here, your early intervention practitioner, early years consultant. You can give me any title you want, but I am here to support parents. I am here as a parent coach. I'm here to walk alongside parents who have children who are delayed in some aspect of their development. And if you need support, somebody walking alongside you, then that is what I am here for. So, hi again, good morning, and today we're talking about the emotional impact of a developmental delay diagnosis on parents and carers or family members as a whole. Now, it is important that we understand the different emotions that we feel on a daily basis and the impact that it has on our daily lives. Now, let alone something that has happened or something that has happened to our child or something that is happening to our child. And the 5 stages of grief are usually talked about when there is a death in the family, or some very traumatic event. And sometimes we do not look at other traumatic events that we have in our lives in the light of going through the stages of grief. And that is essentially what people go through, a lot of parents go through when their child is diagnosed with a developmental delay. I have spoken with lots and lots of parents who have delayed accessing support for their child because they were in total denial. They couldn't believe that their child was delayed in some aspect of their delay, or that they would be diagnosed with autism, or whatever the case may be. So today I just wanted to encourage parents to come alongside them, to say that it is okay to feel all these things when you have a child who is delayed. When we have a baby, when we're pregnant, we're expectant. We want that baby to come out being perfect. You want them to, because they're just this bundle of joy. When that baby is in your tummy, you just have this expectation of a bright future, of a lovely future for them, and you want them to be able to learn and develop and thrive to the best of their abilities. And when they're developing and you realize that something is not right, sometimes we are in denial. We go through these stages of grief, which are denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. And sometimes we may be going through these things and we do not even realize that we're going through them. This was first, the stages of grief was first put forward by Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, that's the name, in her book on death and dying. And as such, we usually talk about grief when we're talking about death, when the loss of somebody or of a family member or a friend. But when we go through traumatic events in our lives as well, we can go through the stages of grief. That includes separation, that includes illness, illnesses like cancer, that includes lots of different kinds of diagnoses. And when it comes to our children as well, when they're diagnosed with a condition that you know that it will be life-changing, conditions that you may not have any control over, we go through these stages as well. The parents with whom I work, some are at the stage of denial, some have arrived at the stage of acceptance, and as such accept the support that we offer. But when we're going through this stage, we'll look at each stage individually. Now, let's start with denial. Denial is the first stage. You visit a parent, you do an assessment with a child, and you realize that they're delayed in an aspect of their development. And you tell the parents that this is what the assessment has shown. And most often than not, parents say no, or children everybody has a belief about how children will learn and develop. And we all know that children learn and develop at different rates. So it is not universal that all children will talk at 1 or 2 or 3. Yes, there are some norms that are universal, that a majority of children will start using single words at 1 year old, or start putting 2 words together at 2 years old, start making sentences at 3. So, or use more complex language at 3. So it is important that we have an idea of what our children should be doing at different stages. But when your child is has been assessed, and most often than not, parents just say, they'll develop when they're ready. When they start school, they'll start talking, and they refuse the support that is given for the early intervention support. They are still in the stage of denial because they do not yet, they don't want to accept that this beautiful child is delayed in this. They're not talking, or they may have this physical condition with the legs or whatever. So it is important that as a practitioner or as parents, we are aware of these different emotional feelings that may come up when our children are assessed or diagnosed with a delay or an illness or whatever. Even ourselves, it's important to recognize these stages. So first stage is denial, and then the second stage is anger. When you start processing now, okay, there's a possibility that this is actually happening. Why me? Why my child? What is wrong with me? We get into that stage where we start arguing and getting angry, and we sometimes become cynical about certain things. So the anger, you may not express it as rage, or it may come out as pessimism. You start worrying about different things, and you like, why my life is always negative? This is always happening to me. Why is it only me? Woe is me. We start going down that that spiral of looking at things very negatively. Sometimes we can be aggressive, sometimes or passive aggressive. So everybody is now a problem. You snap at every junction. Every little thing that somebody says, even if they didn't mean to hurt you, it becomes an issue. And sometimes parents can go down to the level of just going down to use drugs or alcohol to block out the pain, so to speak. So it is important that we recognize these things. And when you start, it may look like you feeling frustrated. Maybe you snap at every little thing. You may become impatient, or you are resentful of people around you whose children are developing as they should. So let us be mindful of our emotions and ask ourselves, why am I feeling this way? If my child is diagnosed with a delay, what is it in me that is not resonating with this diagnosis? The next stage is bargaining. Now we start thinking, what if I do this? What if I had done this? You may think about all the things that you did during your pregnancy. Did I drink too much alcohol? Was it the food that I was eating? What is it that made my child become delayed? Was it delayed? Was it something that I had done, or was it something that is in my genetics? What is it? And we start feeling guilty about certain things. Sometimes when we finally come to the point of accepting, we start feeling guilty now that, I should have taken the help earlier, or I should have done something differently. So sometimes we want, as a bargaining chip, we want to be perfectionist, or we start thinking, I should have done this, or if only I had done that. It is important that we recognize these stages and stop ourselves in our tracks, because when we start bargaining, we can start feeling guilty, we can start feeling shame, we can blame ourselves, we can develop fear and anxiety and become insecure in the way we parent. But the important thing is to recognize these feelings and question yourself, why am I feeling this way? What is it? What is wrong? And stop ourselves in our tracks, because these things can lead to the next stage, which is depression. So the more you look at things and think that it's your fault, the more you look at things and think about what I could have done in the past. If I had not eaten all that bread, or if I had not drunk all the alcohol, maybe something wouldn't have, my child would have come out differently. Or if I just left that domestic violence relationship, or whatever the case may be, we have different things we may use to blame ourselves for what is happening. And it's important that if we're struggling with things like that, we should seek help. Now, the stage of depression can look like you're sleeping all the time, you do not even want to interact with your child, you're always just giving them maybe the phone to just keep them quiet, you're not interested in what other people are doing, you avoid social environments, you avoid going into the community where there are other people. And we have come across cases where parents will not even take their children out because they don't want the community to see their child is delayed, or they don't want them to display the behaviors that they find unacceptable or that are uncomfortable for them. They don't want other parents to witness, or other people in the community to witness their child behaving in a way that is not conventional. And as such, they hide the child at home. Sometimes I've heard about cases where people have children who are delayed in their development and nobody even know that this child exists. In the sense that the closest family members will know, obviously, that they have a child, there is a child in the home. But people in the community, you always find these parents go to social gatherings, parties, whatever, without that child. So it is important that we do not hide our children away. It's important that we seek help when we are struggling to accept what the situation is, because some of these conditions are lifelong. And it is important that as practitioners, we support parents to go through these stages of grief, because nobody, when you're having your child, when you're looking forward to that child coming, you do not expect them to have any kind of delay whatsoever. And as such, when they're diagnosed with something that is devastating, then it is difficult for you as a parent. You keep going through these stages. Sometimes the stages are not. Some people go through these stages in a different way. They don't have to go all chronologically, like from denial to anger, depression, acceptance, and all that, or bargaining, and depression and acceptance. Sometimes people go through it afterwards. Sometimes parents will accept the fact that the child is delayed, but then go through that stage where they start denying. But is this really true? Is it really what is happening? And then before they go into the stage of bargaining, what could I have done differently? And then they go and sink into depression. They're disappointed. They feel hopeless and helpless about what to do. So it is important that we know exactly where we are on this journey. And after depression now, they may come to the point of accepting that actually this is really what it is. My child is delayed in this area of their development, or my child has these devastating learning needs that will never be changed, or that you live through the life with it. Now you start thinking about what is going to happen in the future. What is if I am not here? What if? What I want to encourage parents is, let us stay in the moment when the diagnosis comes. First of all, yes, you cannot stop parents from, or a person when I got the diagnosis that my daughter was delayed in an aspect of their development. I had not even been aware of language delay, or that there was anything like speech therapy. I was just like, what is that? So it is important that when we come to the phase of acceptance, that we accept the support even through all this journey. Now, acceptance may look like, yes, this is what is happening. Now I want support. Where do I go? We start being mindful of our behaviors. We start thinking of the child more and thinking like, okay, this is a diagnosis. What will happen next? Where can I go to get support? What should I be doing at home to help this child develop to the best of their ability? If this is how life is going to be now, what do we put in place for this child for the future? So it is important that we are present in the moment, and then we start working towards what to do now and in the future. Being able to be vulnerable and tolerate emotions, because it is important that when we come to accept help, we should not always be defensive. We shouldn't be defensive about the situation, because it is not something that you did that caused your child to be delayed. We should also learn to be assertive about what we need for our child, and advocate for them. Because when you come to that point of acceptance, okay, this is what is happening, we have to adapt. We have to start coping with the reality that my child is delayed in the language development, my child has autism, or my child is has global developmental delay. What do I need to put in place now? And what is good enough for my child? So we seek help. We call our health visitor. We go to the children's center and say, this is what is happening. I am worried about this. Or if you had already had the diagnosis and you were in denial, you go back to the health visitor. Now I have accepted. Please, let's go down this route of assessing for this or that or the other. You put steps in place that will help your child. So we become courageous. We have to be courageous enough to advocate for our children, because it's not enough to know that there is support available. But where do we go for this support? And when you finally go to get this support, what are you what do you expect from them? So do our research. Find out, okay, which kinds of nurseries are available. Do I put them in a nursery, or do I give them to a childminder? Is it a group setting which will be preferable for my child, or is it more one-to-one type support that I need for them? Now, if the waiting lists are quite long, how long will it take for my child to receive the intervention? And if not, who do I go to advocate for my child? What is school supposed to be doing? What are nurseries supposed to be doing? We become proactive to find out what we need to do to support our child. And we bring in that child. We show the child love. We show them that they are as precious as any other child. We affirm them. We build their self-esteem. We praise them. We develop their confidence, so that a child doesn't feel like because they have this delay, they are different from other children, or they are not worthy of the same kind of love and of the same kind of acceptance, or the same kind of treatment from us or from practitioners. So we have to advocate for our children, and we have to use wisdom. Because it is not everybody who will be accepting of you or your child, or who want to step in and do what is right for you and your child. So, if we're going through these different stages, most often than not, what I see parents do is, the parents that I start working with, they are usually in the stages of denial. And some have gone through the stages and now they're in acceptance, but they're still struggling with these other stages, bargaining, feeling guilty that they had not done what they should have done when they were 2 years old. Now they're 5 years old already, and it's a bit late. What I tell parents is, the important thing is that you have chosen to start now. Be in the present. This is where we are right now, and what are we doing right now to support our children? That is where we are. It doesn't matter if you have been in denial for 2 years. Yes, support could have been put in place for the child early, but that doesn't matter now. That time has gone. So you crying about that time, or regretting it, or feeling guilty about it, will not change. It will only keep you in the past, and you feel guilty and ashamed that you had not sought the support for your child. What I encourage parents to think about is the now. You have finally come to this place where you know that my child needs support, and you are seeking the support. And they need to be praised and encouraged, so that they know that they are doing the right thing. So my heart's desire is for parents who are struggling in any of these with any of these things. If your child has been diagnosed with something that you didn't expect, It could be a language delay. It could be a physical impairment, or visual impairment, or hearing impairment. Whatever it is. My focus is speech and language because that is what I do. But it could be hearing impairment, it could be visual impairment, it could be anything whatsoever. We still go through these different stages, or even an illness that we were not expecting. We'll go through the stages of grief. And it is important that as practitioners, we support parents wherever they are. We come alongside them, walk with them. If they are still in the stage of denial, we support them there. Bring them through the process. The way we talk to parents matter, because sometimes I've spoken with parents who have said, oh, this practitioner or that practitioner just said that, oh, your child is delayed, just accept it. As if it is just easy to just accept that diagnosis like that. So it is important to be empathetic, to be compassionate with people, because imagine that was your own child. How would you feel about their development? Where I come from in Cameroon, a lot of parents are not aware of these things. We sometimes say when a child is delayed, we call them fools, or the dumb, or they've been bewitched. Sometimes these are some of the things that happen, and people do not accept that this is exactly what is happening with their child. So it's important that we encourage one another. It's important that we do not hide our children if they're delayed in an aspect. It's important that we sensitize the rest of the community to realize that because this child is delayed, doesn't mean that they are any different from any children. They still have the same intrinsic value that God put in them. So it is important that we love one another, we support the children, we support the parents in our community, in our family members who have children who are delayed. The parents are sometimes overwhelmed because this child now belongs to them, and sometimes you can be in a marriage where only the woman is working with that child. Sometimes I've spoken to parents, to women who have children who have autism, and they've been abandoned by the men because the child needs so much support. So it is important that we support one another in the community. Let us educate ourselves on some of these things, so that when we come face to face with people who are struggling, we know how to support them. And let us not look down on people because their child is delayed in an aspect or another. We ourselves may be going through something else that is even worse than a developmental delay. A developmental delay is not a death sentence. Children can be supported to thrive and develop to the best of their abilities, and become to have great life chances in the future. So today, my encouragement was to parents who are going through this emotional roller coaster that is like the grief, the cycle of grief. Because of diagnosis of a delay in their child. Please seek help. Please find help for your child. There is no shame in asking for help. You're doing them a great favor when we learn more about these things and when we support them to develop to the best of their ability. I hope that is encouraging to somebody. I hope that you will share this message to other parents to know that there is support out there. You may be in a community where this is not available, that you can only find it online. But reach out. Talk to somebody. Reach out. Don't suffer in silence. It is important that we speak out about some of these things so that we help one another grow. So, that's all that I wanted to talk about this morning. The stages of grief when our children, the emotional roller coaster we go through when our child is diagnosed with a developmental delay or an illness or anything that we did not expect. So, if you want more information about what to do if your child is delayed in that language development, send me a direct message. If you want more training, or if you want one-to-one support, I am here to help. Follow us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and subscribe to our YouTube channel so that we can get the message across. Like and share if this was interesting, and we will keep on fighting this battle. So, take care and God bless you. Have a lovely week. Bye.